Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Moments with Gabby. I am your host, Gabrielle Mossa. Today, in the spirit of youth doing empowering things for the society, we will be interviewing lawyer Hilda Pepeno, who will give us more insights on her paralegal work at the Langata Women's Prisons. Stay tuned for more. In the meantime, don't forget and hit the bell notification to be notified for new episodes. Tell us how you got into the influencing bit first of all.
Wow. I think it came honestly by just me creating content that people enjoyed. Before I had a private account and I just post very random things about very different things. So I could be cooking and I'll just put it there. I remember when I had a private account, I would really post my family. So I'd put that there. Or I'd go on a girl date and I'd put it there. So it's just different experiences, and I noticed, wow, people were watching and people were, requesting to follow my account. Then I just decided, to open the account for more people to watch my content. And then, so I transitioned from a private account with very intimate moments where family is there, my loved ones are there. And then now it's kind of like the same thing, but I also monitor what I post. And
I love your content. It's just so relaxing and natural. Kwanza, the ones for a day in the life, I should look forward to it. I enjoy them. And you've worked with many amazing brands. L'Oreal, Farmer's Choice, Shop Zetu. Do I continue?
Yes.
So how did you start working with these brands? Did they approach you? Did you shoot your short?
So that's a very good question, and I get that question a lot actually. And one thing I will say is, so to begin with your question, I did, for some of these brands, I did shoot my short. Like even for Shop Zetu, I did shoot my short. And I never thought I would model until I started seeing, okay, I take good pictures, I enjoy smiling in photos when I'm not tired or hungry. So I noticed, I can't take this up seriously. So I started to shoot my short with different brands, not just Shop Zetu. And one thing I will tell young women and even guys who are interested in, modeling or taking up that space or fashion content, is to shoot your shot. Literally, you have nothing to lose, because it's what's the worst that can happen? They'll say no, or they'll leave you on scene. But what's the best that could happen? They will say, hi, please send us your portfolio, send us your email, we'll be in touch, or this is our email, write down your intentions, and so that's how it started with Shop Zetu. I went also building my brand with, because I produce different content. So for Farmer's Choice, they reached out. But I think primarily when I started out, it was creating content that is not a paid partnership. It's just I enjoy doing this, so I'm gonna put it out there, as well as also shooting my short, especially for the fashion bit of my content creation.
It's been an amazing journey, and I'm sure you're still learning and growing.
I still have a long way to go, but so far that's what has been working for me.
And you did all this while still juggling
law school.
How was that? That must have been intense.
It was. It was.
Tell us a bit how you were able to manage all of that.
I can't lie and say there's a perfect balance. And I normally tell young women who even DM me, because they're how do you do this and then do this? What I will say is they will never be at your perfect balance, but there will be priorities. So for example, if I know the cuts are coming up or the exams are coming up, you will notice, or in my content, I will slow down the pace at which I'm posting. Now, content creators are more advantaged by scheduling posts. Before it was not like that. From 2018 up to COVID times, 2020, even 2021, there was nothing like scheduling content. We had to download apps to schedule this content. But that time, worked for me because I would prioritize. So where I know maybe the semester has begun or we're in the middle of the semester and work is not as much, then I will maximize on creating the most content. Then as we ease into get into the exam season, cut season, then I will slow down, but there'll be bits and bobs of things that I'm posting.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no perfect balance, but there's priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you also feel like content creation helped you to relax a bit, or like just to enjoy life?
For sure, to a great extent. But also I think what most people don't talk about is that content creation also has its pressure. So whereas it was relaxing for me when I started to get these paid partnerships, there was it was therapeutic for me at first, because it was just I'm putting out things that I like. Let's say I cook, some vegetables, I put it there.
Yeah.
But then now when you get to be endorsed by you're endorsing certain brands, people don't talk about report writing. Influencers write reports. People don't talk about deadlines. People don't talk about when you make these videos, before you see it as a consumer, they have to approve, and they have to take a week, 2 weeks in advance to look at your content. And sometimes they do reject these videos, so you have to reshoot.
Again,
reshooting means more money. So it did come with its own pressure when it started to be a source of income. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Let's briefly talk about your law career. What made you want to be a lawyer?
So I can't lie and say I've always wanted to be a lawyer, or that's always been my dream. I think growing up, and for the longest time, I really wanted to become a doctor, a pediatric surgeon.
Really?
And then something happened to someone I know when I was in high school, before I came to that high school.
Yeah, we were in the same high school.
Yes,
fun fact.
yes. Oh, look at us.
Right, who would have thought a few years later?
I know. Wow. So something happened to someone. They passed away, but it was a legal matter, and the way it was handled, it's like, you spend every day seeing this person, and then now this person dies in an unjust way. And then someone somewhere, because they're in a position of power, feel like they can buy out the case.
Okay.
So it just made me feel like, if I have always wanted to serve humanity, let's say by treating people, I can still serve humanity, but from a legal perspective.
Yeah.
And I didn't even take history
you didn't. You took geography, Emma?
No, I took CRE.
Triple science.
I did 3 sciences. Yeah. So had it not been for that event, I don't think I would be a lawyer. Yeah.
Which type of lawyer did you want to become? Are there types of?
I feel like as it is, I'm open-minded because I enjoy criminal law.
Yeah.
But then I also understand, especially after having worked at Langata Women's, there's also a safety risk. It's risky in itself to be a woman, and then to be a Kenyan lady criminal defense attorney or lawyer, So it's I enjoy this, but at the end of the day, what pays the bills and what is safe for me and my potential family to come? Yeah, so I'm open.
You've said a point there of women. You think it's harder to make it or to succeed in the law world? As a woman.
I think yes, because it's definitely male-dominated, one. Number two, it's conservative. I appreciate that there are women who are succeeding and they're doing their best in the legal field, in the legal profession, but the vast majority are men, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
And then also just the way the legal profession is centered, it's very conservative. Women are to dress, in a certain way, in a very traditional, more
the
traditional.
Suits and everything.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So I think you definitely, if you were to put a man and woman together, a young man and woman together, and ask them, okay, here's your shot, now run, and this is our legal profession, now run, and let's say there's a finish line, more often than not the men have the advantage. We have to exert way more effort than them. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, but I'm sure you'll make it. Yeah. What's your long-term vision in terms of law?
To make, have you watched Suits?
Yeah.
To make Jessica Pearson money.
Jessica Pearson was our boss.
Yeah. No, I will. Over and above the money bit of it, I think it's to be impactful. to the lives of the people to the lives of my clients, for example, and even those that I have never interacted with, for them to feel like, wow, she's actually making some change. So for me, it's not just about the money, but what change am I making in society? Because that's what even brought me here in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. Let's now get into the Langata women's paralegal stuff.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm sure that was amazing.
Thank you.
How did you get into it?
So, the university I was in, which is Strathmore, offers, like, every academic break. It's not just for you to
relax.
No. You have to do something.
Okay.
So it's in third year. Look at me speaking like I graduated in 1958. No.
Yeah.
So I think it's in third year. But no, it's something that should have happened in first year, but because of COVID, we ended up doing it in third year. And it's called community service. Where you're supposed to, during the academic break, you're supposed to go to a center or a space where you can serve the community. So I really thought about where I want to serve, and at first I got the ideas of maybe a children's home or this other place, but like I wanted to make an impact. A classmate of mine actually had a connection or thought about it, and they shared with me, and at first I was scared, I won't lie. I wasn't like, yes, let's jump at it, let's go there.
It's an interesting experience. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's something that is so different, and I was like, yes, I'm scared. Actually, that's the mentality I went with. Yes, I'm scared, but I want to make a difference. I want to learn, and I don't want to be like, I want to see what happens in movies, but like in my own country, how I can make a difference in like looking at the system and seeing the flaws and the gaps that are there. So through the classmate of mine, we both, it was just me and her actually, we both went through the procedures of enrolling at the prison. We got accepted, and for about, call it maybe 3 months, we worked there.
Okay. Which positions did you hold, or what did you do exactly for them?
So we did 2 things. The first being, personally, I taught English and Swahili for the Form 3 and 4 classes.
That's
what
nice.
Most people don't know is, like, especially at Langata Women's Prison, it's a learning criminal rehabilitation center.
It's just not a prison.
So if you're not, you just don't sit because you're serving a sentence. So you have to do something. So for the ladies who had not finished their 844 education, that is the opportunity for them to finish. So I was teaching the Form 3 and 4 classes. These are inmates, right? Not their children, nothing. The
inmates themselves.
Yes.
Wow.
And actually, in the class that I taught, all of them had death penalty. So most of them, of course, had committed, not most, all of them had committed capital offenses. So capital offenses would be either murder or robbery with violence. But what I came to see is that most women there actually are in for crimes of passion, where like you're with a lover and then one thing leads to the other, and for whatever reason, one person dies, the other one remains. Because you remain, you're incriminated for it. So to answer your question, actually, I'm going to the tea. I was teaching the Form 3 and 4 classes, English and Kiswahili, and then when I was not teaching, I was in the legal aid section where the paralegal works. So you go through an inmate's file and you look at possible defenses to their case. You prep them for cross-examination for those of them that are still having their cases ongoing. The trial going on.
It must have been interesting dealing with people who have committed a crime. How are you able to like build a rapport and like treat them like regular people?
So first, I remember the first weeks were really hard because I was teaching Kiswahili, and they used to look at me like, when I came in and I was like, I'm teaching Kiswahili.
Because you don't look like a Kenyan first of all, so I'm sure
they were like, you're just a pretty girl. And what do you mean you're teaching Kiswahili? So there's that coldness that there was at first. Like in class, you're saying, let's say, what's this answer? They look at you like, okay, and then like slowly, like I would humanize the experience. Like I'm not just here to be your teacher and I'm out, but like we would have conversations in class or out of class. maybe during break time or their free time, they could come to the library and I'd mark their, their books.
Yeah.
It would, now when I say it, it sounds maybe a little childish, but I used to buy stickers. And I remember that used to motivate me in primary school. And whenever like they would put effort or I'd give out an assignment and they would do it well, I would always put stickers in their books. And that would be, I never thought that would work, but that actually helped our relationship because like, something that one of the officers told me is that you're a representation of home. So when they look at you, they see, oh my God, like you're from home, you're from the outside. That's great. So even like this little things like stickers in their books, that probably reminds them of their children or their sisters or their younger ones that they've left back home.
Yeah.
So I didn't think the sticker, concept would work, but it really did. And slowly we went building a friendship. Yeah.
But how are you able at the same time not to get too attached, because you're going to leave and some of them will move in their lives, die, whatever. So how are you still able to build a rapport but not be attached to the point where you think now this is,
So I'll be honest, it was hard at first.
For sure.
Because I'm very empathetic. Like when they would start to open up, first of all, there was no, people think like because you're in prison, there's a vast amount of guards around you. So if let's say I'm marking your book and we finish and then we start talking about life, it's just literally me and you. In fact, here this space, we would sit next to each other and there's no guard. Well, there's a guard at the door.
But it's not intense for
yeah. So it was hard because for some of them I'd hear their stories. And then for others, I wouldn't ask them, what did you do? They would just end up sharing. And then there's this platform that some Kenyans don't know about, especially those who don't practice law or keen on it. It's called Kenya Law. So if I search, my official name is Hilda Pepeno. So if I search Hilda Pepeno case or Hilda Pepeno murder case, then it will pull up my name on Kenya Law and I'll be able to see what they did. So when they would tell me their names, like I know who are my students. Let's say they say Hilda Pepeno, I wouldn't ask Hilda, what did you do? I'd go and write Hilda and then I'd look at the case. So by the time I'm even interacting with you, I know what you've done. I know it. Yeah. So it was hard because by the time you're telling me a story, even if you're owning up to it, there's your side to the story. And that's something I came to learn. Like even for, we call them murderers, we label them, but even then they have their side to the story. It's not justified, but they have their side,
and you see them as humans and
so I did struggle with it. And that's actually what made me start therapy. Because it was overwhelming for me. For sure. I'm a young woman, I'm growing up, and most of the women there are, have killed their spouses, have killed their partners, but they have their views on relationships. I also am building my views on relationships. So more often than not, I would find myself like randomly breaking down. Like it's a lot because you hear very deep stories and they're very different. This one is in total denial. This one you can tell, through being around them that maybe they're being manipulative. This other one is, so they're very different characters that you will find. And it was a lot for me to consume all at once. So how I would let it out is through therapy, because I felt like I needed to speak to someone
about it.
Not really about their stories, but what the stories are doing to me and what information I'm receiving and digesting.
That's very interesting. So we're going to take a short break, and in the upcoming segment we'll talk about her challenges and how this also shaped her view in the legal world. Stay tuned. Thank you guys for staying tuned. I hope you're enjoying the show. Please leave a comment on how the show is going. So in the previous segment, we talked about Hilda's journey, how she got into influencing and how she got into law and how she got into this paralegal work. And in this new segment, we'll talk about the challenges she faced and how this shaped her view in her law career. So the first question, what challenges did you face working over there and how were you able to overcome them?
Like I told you before we took the break, okay, no, first let me start with the challenges. I think the most obvious one was digesting all of these stories.
Yeah.
Because whenever, even when two friends come together, you and I, for example, there's certain things you will tell me, and because I'm empathetic, I will feel your pain.
Yeah.
And so listening every other day to these women and their stories, I would feel like, wow, if I had the power to release everyone, I would.
That's yeah.
But then again, with human beings come manipulation. So some people will be genuine with their stories and they will tap into your emotions. And other people will not be genuine with them.
Yeah.
They will want to manipulate you or push a narrative that they were the victim and someone out there was the perpetrator, and the other person out there should be serving that sentence and not them. So you need to navigate that.
Yeah.
So that was the first. The second one was, I'll be honest, it's a government institution that is run by, officers. And so over and above building this relationship with the prisoners, I did encounter certain challenges with the officers, because these are people like military trained.
Yeah.
And I should not even, in the first place, be even smiling or laughing or trying to have a friendship with the prisoners. So there was that conflict more often than not, where it was like, I'm here to teach and to open your cases and see what's going on, and that's it. Well, the human experience is when you do these things, you get to interact with these people and build friendships, build, connections.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to work with them, for a long while. I didn't achieve a perfect balance with like navigating what's not good and what's good. But I guess I survived that
Somehow,
period.
yeah.
So that was number 2. Number 3 is, especially for givers, you want to, if you're seeing like these women are not having enough sanitary pads, or they're not having enough milk or soap, you want to donate all these things, but like with my financial capacity and where I am at as a student, can I do these things, you know? And there's a sense of feeling hopeless, like you're sharing your story and maybe you're looking at me like I have so much privilege, you know, and so if I could, then I would, but I can't, so you know, guilty, so I can feel for you, but ultimately I don't have the financial capacity to bring you out of that state, you know, which is even sad, you know. And how I dealt with it majorly was through therapy. Number 2 was, I think through therapy I was able to get coping
to navigate those emotions properly,
mechanisms, because like I learned how to take in, and I think that was really important for my legal career where I was at that time, in third year, where I can take in your story and I don't need for it to impact now my life and my emotions and my condition, right? So there was that balance of emotions that I needed to learn how to digest someone's story, but with view to this is my profession and I'm able to help you, but I do not need it for it to now impact my life negatively, in the sense that it affects my emotions. I can't even work, you know, so
you take it until a certain point, then after that you just leave it alone.
And then of course accepting and understanding that I can only do so much at this time in my life. I would love to help as many women as I can in the prisons and out, but do I have the financial capacity? I'm not able to, you know, so I could only do that which I could at that moment. And saying it out loud and accepting it and understanding that helped me, because, you know,
acceptance must have been,
it wasn't easy
important.
Like now I say it as, you know, like just a point, a highlight,
that time easier said
but
than
it took a while for me to accept that.
You've said it's a government-run institution, which is true and fact, and they go through so many challenges. The prisoners, do you call them prisoners or inmates? Or inmates.
Yeah, but actually when we were there, they used to call them clients. Our clients. The officers used to say our clients. are good people,
Yeah.
our clients. Yeah.
So what are some of the, apart from like the things like sanitary towels, what kind of challenges did you see them facing and you were like,
I think it's for those who have babies.
oh,
Yeah, lactating mothers. The difference between a lactating mother and an ordinary inmate, I think, is a glass, milk. So, and that is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Almost all the babies there were malnourished or had an issue because they were not fed well. And even for the mothers, they struggle with breastfeeding because it's like, between me and an ordinary inmate who does not have a child, who does not have a toddler or a baby, is literally a glass or a cup of milk.
And that doesn't do anything.
Barely anything, right? And I think it's just sad because once they turn, is it 3.5 or 4?
They leave.
They have to leave, yeah.
So even the detachment, seeing them detached.
Yeah, and these are children who are automatically growing up with childhood trauma because they're going to feel abandoned.
For sure.
They were spending, a great amount of time with their parent, and then now they have to be let go, either back to the family, or if the family rejects the baby,
to an orphanage.
Yes, so that was hard.
Okay.
And I would say that is a challenge I saw them facing, the women who have babies. Also the care for the children. How much are they eating? Yes, there's a nursery unit, which is, it's decent. But how much are they eating? How much milk are they getting? That is enough for their proper growth and development.
That must have been quite intense.
Yeah.
So are there some cases that you saw that really changed like your perception of everything?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can mention them. But I will say that for some particular cases, and for a particular prisoner that I recall, it's just that I wouldn't want to mention her name.
Yeah, you can't. Mm-hmm.
I think hearing her admit that which I had read, but understanding her point of view, I'll be honest, when I understood her, like I listened with view to understand, not judge her, I was like, wow, if I was in your place, what would I do? Would I do the same? It's
interesting, yeah.
So there's some stories that, like a couple, like maybe 3, 4, 5, that I would listen, and if I put myself in their shoes, I'm just like, how would I have gone through, about that situation? Mm-hmm. And of course, murder and capital offenses will never ever be justified.
Yeah, for sure.
But you get to a point where you hear and you humanize their stories and you put yourself in their shoes, it's just like you're confused, like what would you do in their case? Right? And these are people who are daughters, they're mothers, they're sisters to other people, but now they're there.
Yeah.
Also, I must say, working there has really taught me that we take for granted freedom, and I think it's such an underrated blessing, because for the rest of your life, for example, if I'm facing the death penalty, because of course now people are not hanged or killed, that means you're never gonna get out. So but for the rest of your life, now you have to wake up at 5 a.m. You will not sleep as you please. You will not rest on your bed as you please. You will be literally timetabled for the rest of your life. So it's hard.
Even
because
mentally,
let's say you used to like doing a certain hairstyle. Now you have to, work with a certain, how it was even in high school. There's only so much you could do with our hair. And then now you go about doing your makeup. So we take and these are like very minute things, but like just freedom in general, freedom to step out and go wherever you want, freedom to dress as you please, freedom to sleep and, just control your own timetable, your schedule is something we take for granted. And seeing them in those situations, I think really changed my life. It changed my life, and I thank God it came at that time, because it's like I was not like it was in the middle of law school, and actually looking back at law school, had I experienced it in first year, perhaps I would not have gone about the way first year is like I mean,
Surely, I'm just doing university. I mean, life is
you're
easy,
in a bubble.
Yeah.
So it changed my life, and of course, it ended up even changing my grades because I was like, wow, there are people who are, struggling. They don't have freedom. They don't have this. They don't have that.
Yeah.
Others did not have the privilege of going to school, and now they're serving a sentence. But this is their second chance at life. Yes, it's a punishment because they don't have the freedom anymore. But it's a second chance at life. They get to learn computer. They get to learn law. There are law school students there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it was life changing for me.
So now, as paralegal, as a lawyer, soon to be advocate, did this change your views, or did this influence your views on human rights and advocacy? Or tell us a bit more about that.
For sure, because now I got to understand more of the theoretical framework that was already put in class, and then now I got to understand the workings of pro bono. We always talk about pro bono cases, pro bono this, pro bono that. How does it go about, like, all this? And then in movies we see self-representation. People can't afford, to have legal representation. So in our country, how does self-representation look like? For most of these cases, there's some women who cannot even fully understand English. So are these matters being translated into Kiswahili or local dialect, for example, for them to understand? Because it's like, when the magistrate asks you, do you plead guilty or not guilty? But are you even understanding what does that mean for you? Because there are women who, when we would review their cases, and I'd open the file, they're telling me, I didn't really understand this. Or at police station level, they didn't even ask for me to write a statement. Really? So you see, these are loopholes, and it calls for now us who are advocates in training, younger lawyers, to do better, because if the system is failing us, then ultimately we can't expect the people to do right if the system is a failure,
So you feel like the Kenyan government is not doing enough, or based on that?
I think I can't say they're not doing anything, but there's definitely a lot more that they could do.
Yeah.
And then a lot more of, civic education, where do people understand, like, rights of an arrested person? We see, like, abroad, or in America, for example, like, if you're arrested, you're told your rights. They're called out. The person who's arresting you called. You have the right to remain silent. Here it's like, wait, mama, it's threatening, start to end, and these are some of the things that, if our people understood it better, perhaps we would even be dealing with different matters.
So do you feel like some people, if they understood all of that, do you think that they would not be in there? Like, do you think some of them are there based on unjust reasons, or when you look at the cases and analyze, as a lawyer, okay, here the math is not mathing?
I feel that there are some cases where the system did fail them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think every matter is black and white.
For sure.
But I feel like the system failed to look at circumstantial evidence.
Okay.
Or certain matters where, yes, the action happened, we call it actus reus in law. The action happened, but did I have the intention to do it? And, for some of these cases, and you listen to some of them and you hear, the magistrate is from an older generation, so just, because I did this, done, here's my sentence. And that goes to say, I don't mean to say that the older magistrates don't know what they're doing. They do, of course. But then I think it calls for even just the judicial organ that we have to apply, I think, just that human touch, because whereas you want justice for the victim in a criminal matter, for example, what about the rights to this person who is before the court? So just that balance. And I'm slowly understanding, by also now looking at the practical bit of the law, that there will never be a perfect balance, but there is a place where we can come to
an equilibrium.
And also you look at certain sentences where there's unfortunate bits where you hear, for such I don't want to call it petty, but a less bearing offense
Yeah.
is given such a huge penalty, maybe 20 years.
So you want
such a small thing, maybe theft of, I don't know, a phone. Whereas someone is given a very different, like for a very different thing, is given a lighter sentence. So are we also looking at that? Because the truth is that our prisons cannot accommodate an infinite number of
sure.
prisoners.
Yeah.
So if we, as law practitioners, are able to understand that we do not have a vast amount of beds, even in our prisons, can we then be very realistic with these sentences that we're giving? Perhaps it would make more sense. So I think the system needs, there's still a lot more
that can be done,
and a lot more training, because it's not just for us to call for people in the justice system to do better, and no one is training them. So the government has a lot of work to do.
Okay, that's very true. So based on all the things you experienced, did it shape your view in terms of your long-term goal for your career?
For sure. And what ultimately I think it fine-tuned my focus, because now it became very real to me. I say that being taught is great, sitting in a lecture is great, and hearing about certain instances, but more often than not, even when the lecturer, the teacher, the instructor is getting to, let's say, to share a story, they're teaching a certain concept, but they're sharing their story, you're just getting it from their lens. So more often than not, you don't get to sit in their shoes per se, but then now seeing it in real life and in real time, it changed my focus, and it changed ultimately what do I want. And so that's why when we started off, I was like, I would like to make a positive impact in the lives of those that I come across.
So very interesting conversations. My mind has been blown away even behind the scenes. I hope you've enjoyed the interview.
Yes, and thank you so much for calling me.
Thank you for having me. Fun fact about us: when the same high school, and she used to sleep in the opposite room.
Oh yes.
So we used to wake each other up. It was very interesting.
Yeah. So from waking each other up
to interviews. It's so interesting. Tell the people that they can find you on your social.
Yes, so please feel free to interact with my content. That's This Girl Hilly. I go by This Girl Hilly on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and I look forward to seeing you guys engaging with my content. And thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So thank you guys. I hope you have enjoyed yourself thoroughly. I hope you have learned a thing or two. Please leave a comment on how you have enjoyed the show. I have been your host, Gabrielle Mosa. See you until next time. Bye.